"Officer, before you search anything, are you prepared to explain why you stopped us?" Marcus Holloway asked the question without raising his voice, and that calmness seemed to bother Officer Travis Keane more than anger would have. Red and blue lights washed across the rear window of the black sedan, reflecting against the wet pavement and the dark storefronts along the quiet street. Inside the car, the dashboard clock read 8:17 in the evening. 3 minutes. Marcus was supposed to check in with his FBI team at 8:20. Beside him, Vanessa Holloway sat perfectly still in the passenger seat, one hand resting near her phone, her expression unreadable. Keane stood outside the driver's window, flashlight angled toward the interior, studying Marcus with the kind of suspicion that seemed to grow every time Marcus gave a reasonable answer. "I already told you," Keane said. "The vehicle caught my attention." Marcus looked at him. "That is not a traffic violation. You want to tell me how to do my job now?" "No. I want to know why I was stopped." Keane's jaw tightened. A second patrol officer, Noah Briggs, stood several feet behind him near the cruiser, watching the exchange with increasing uncertainty. Marcus noticed that. Vanessa noticed it too. They noticed everything. 20 minutes earlier, the two of them had left a confidential meeting carrying a sealed evidence envelope and a secured phone connected to an investigation that had taken months to build. Nobody outside the task force was supposed to know the route they were taking. Nobody outside the task force was supposed to know where they had been. Yet now a local officer had stopped them on a road that was not part of any routine checkpoint, and his questions had almost nothing to do with traffic. "Where are you coming from?" Keane asked. "Why does that matter?" Marcus replied. "It matters because I asked." Vanessa turned slightly toward the window. "Officer, did you observe a traffic violation?" Keane looked at her. "I am speaking to the driver." Marcus felt the tension in the car change. Not fear. Recognition. He and Vanessa had worked enough cases to know when a stop was merely unpleasant and when something underneath it did not fit. Keane looked past Marcus toward the back seat. "Whose car is this?" "Mine." "You sure about that?" Marcus held his gaze. "Very." A white driver in a silver sport utility vehicle passed slowly in the opposite lane. Keane did not look at it. He kept his attention on Marcus. "People get nervous when there is something in the car they do not want found," he said. Marcus almost smiled, but did not. "Do I look nervous?" Keane's expression hardened. "You look like somebody trying very hard not to be." Vanessa glanced at the dashboard clock. 8:18. 2 minutes. Her phone remained face down in her lap. One tap would send an emergency check-in signal to Supervisory Special Agent Rachel Monroe. She did not send it yet. Marcus understood why. If Keane was simply biased, revealing their credentials would end the encounter. But if there was another reason this officer had selected their car, they needed him to keep talking. "Step out of the vehicle," Keane said. Marcus did not move immediately. "For what reason?" "Because I told you to." "That is not a reason." Keane exhaled sharply. Briggs shifted near the cruiser. Vanessa looked at Marcus for less than a second. "Hold." Marcus opened the door slowly and stepped onto the shoulder, keeping his hands visible. The rain had stopped, but the air still smelled like wet asphalt. Keane pointed toward the rear of the sedan. "Open the trunk." Marcus looked at him. "Do you have probable cause or my consent?" Keane stared back. "You ask a lot of questions." Marcus glanced through the windshield at the clock. 8:19, 1 minute. Questions matter when someone is asking for access to things that do not belong to them. Keane took one step closer to the trunk and said, almost casually, "Whatever you picked up near Willow Street, it is staying in this car until I see it." Marcus went completely still. Vanessa's hand stopped above her phone. Neither of them had said Willow Street. Nobody outside the task force was supposed to know they had been there. And in that moment, the traffic stop became something else entirely. 20 minutes earlier, Marcus and Vanessa Holloway had left a narrow brick office building 3 blocks from Willow Street and walked toward their sedan without drawing attention to themselves. The city was settling into evening, storefront lights glowing against the damp sidewalks while traffic moved steadily through the intersection. To anyone watching, they looked like a married couple heading home after a long day. That was exactly how they wanted it. Marcus wore a charcoal jacket over a plain shirt. Vanessa carried a simple leather bag and kept her phone tucked against her palm. No visible badges. No federal markings. Nothing that announced who they were or what they had just received. Inside Vanessa's bag was a sealed evidence envelope containing financial records tied to an investigation that had occupied their task force for nearly 6 months. Marcus carried the secured phone recovered from a confidential source, a device investigators believed could connect several names that had appeared separately in wire reports, account records, and surveillance notes. The meeting had lasted only 13 minutes. The source had been nervous, careful, and very clear about one thing. Nobody outside the task force was supposed to know Willow Street had been used as the exchange point. Marcus unlocked the sedan. "You think Monroe is going to call before we check in?" Vanessa asked as she settled into the passenger seat. Marcus started the engine. "She will give us until 8:20. Vanessa looked at the dashboard clock. 7:58 in the evening. That is confidence. That is Rachel pretending she has patience. Vanessa smiled faintly. The moment passed quickly. Both of them knew better than to relax completely while carrying fresh evidence. Marcus pulled away from the curb and followed the route approved for the return trip. Vanessa placed her phone face down on her lap. "No tails so far," she said. Marcus checked the rearview mirror. "Silver sport utility vehicle, 2 cars back. I saw it. Could be nothing. Could be." Neither of them looked at the vehicle directly. They had learned long ago that surveillance was less about dramatic moments than repeated details. A car that turned when you turned. A face seen twice. A pause that lasted too long. The silver sport utility vehicle stayed behind them for 4 blocks, then disappeared at a traffic light. Vanessa glanced toward the side mirror. "Gone." Marcus nodded. "Maybe nothing. You said that already. I am trying optimism. It does not suit you." Marcus almost laughed. For a few seconds, the tension eased. Then they turned onto Jefferson Avenue, where the street widened and the traffic thinned. The sealed evidence sat untouched inside Vanessa's bag. The secured phone rested inside a signal-blocking pouch beneath Marcus's seat. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. At 8:07, Vanessa checked the route map on her phone. 13 minutes to check in. Marcus looked ahead. Plenty of time. A patrol cruiser appeared in the mirror near the next intersection. Nothing unusual about that. Marcus maintained the speed limit. He signaled before changing lanes. The cruiser stayed behind them. 1 block. Then 2. Vanessa noticed. "You see it?" "Yes." "Anything wrong with the car?" "No." "Speed. 34 in a 35. Vanessa looked forward again. "Then let us see what he does." At 8:11, the cruiser moved closer. No siren. No lights. Just distance narrowing behind them. Marcus kept both hands steady on the wheel. The silver sport utility vehicle appeared again at the far end of the block, turned right, and vanished before Marcus could get a clear look at the plate. Vanessa saw it too. "That is twice." Marcus said nothing. His attention shifted between the mirror and the road ahead. At 8:13, the patrol lights finally came on, filling the inside of the sedan with alternating red and blue. Marcus slowed immediately and pulled into a well-lit shoulder near a row of closed businesses. "Routine stop until it proves otherwise," he said. Vanessa nodded. "Agreed." She turned her phone face down once more. Marcus lowered the window halfway and waited. In the mirror, he saw 2 officers step from the cruiser. The older one approached the driver's side. The younger officer remained several feet back. Marcus watched the older officer's reflection move toward him. He could not know yet that the man's name was Travis Keane. He could not know why Keane had chosen their sedan. But when Keane reached the window, looked first at Marcus, then at Vanessa, then slowly through the interior of the car before asking for a license, Marcus felt the first quiet warning. This stop had begun before Keane ever explained why. Officer Travis Keane reached the driver's window at 8:14 and stood there for a moment without introducing himself. Marcus kept both hands visible on the steering wheel. Vanessa remained still beside him, her phone face down in her lap. The cruiser lights continued to pulse across the wet pavement, painting the inside of the sedan red, then blue, then red again. Keane looked at Marcus first, then Vanessa, then the back seat, then the dashboard. Only after that did he speak. "License and registration." Marcus nodded. "Of course. Before I reach for anything, can you tell me why you stopped us?" Keane's expression tightened almost imperceptibly. "License and registration first." Marcus moved slowly, retrieving his wallet and the vehicle documents from the center console. "I am complying. I am also asking the reason for the stop." Keane took the documents and glanced at the name. Marcus Holloway. Then he looked back at Marcus as though comparing the man to the name had produced another question. "This your car?" "Yes." "Registered to you?" Yes. Keane looked at Vanessa. And who is she? Marcus answered, my wife. Vanessa turned slightly toward Keane. Is there a traffic issue we should know about? Keane ignored the question. Where are you two coming from? Marcus watched him carefully. Why is that relevant to the stop? Keane gave a short laugh. You people always want to turn a simple question into something complicated. The words hung in the air. Vanessa's expression did not change, but Marcus felt the shift immediately. Keane had stopped asking about driving. He was building a story. What do you mean by you people? Vanessa asked. Keane looked at her. People who get nervous when police ask questions. Marcus remained calm. Neither of us is nervous. You look nervous to me. That is your interpretation. Keane handed the registration back, but kept Marcus's license. What do you do for work? Consulting. Marcus said. It was part of the operational cover they were using that night. Keane looked at Vanessa. You too. Related field. Keane nodded slowly, clearly unconvinced. Consultants driving around this neighborhood after dark. Marcus glanced through the windshield at the quiet storefronts. Is there a rule against that? Keane's jaw tightened again. Several feet behind him, Officer Noah Briggs shifted his stance near the patrol cruiser. Marcus noticed the younger officer watching Keane more than watching the sedan. That mattered. Step out of the vehicle, Keane said. Marcus did not move immediately. Am I being asked because of a traffic violation? I am asking because I want to speak to you outside. About what? Just step out. Vanessa looked at Marcus for less than a second. Hold. He understood. Marcus opened the door slowly and stepped onto the shoulder, keeping his hands visible. Keane moved with him toward the rear quarter of the sedan. You ask a lot of questions for somebody who says he has nothing to worry about. Marcus replied. Knowing why you are being stopped is not the same as worrying. Keane looked toward the trunk. Anything in there I should know about? No contraband. That was not what I asked. Marcus held his gaze. Then ask a specific question. Keane exhaled sharply. Open the trunk. Marcus did not move. Do you have probable cause, a warrant, or my consent? Keane stared at him. You know, most people just cooperate. Marcus looked past him toward Briggs. Most people do not have to waive their rights to be cooperative. Briggs lowered his eyes briefly. Keane noticed and turned back to Marcus. You are making yourself look suspicious. By asking for the basis of a search? By acting like you have something to hide. A white sedan passed slowly in the opposite lane, one headlight slightly dimmer than the other. Keane did not look at it. Another vehicle turned from a side street without signaling. Again, no reaction. His attention stayed fixed on Marcus. The double standard was becoming harder to ignore. Vanessa opened her passenger window a few inches. Officer, if this started as a traffic stop, what was the traffic violation? Keane turned toward her. Stay in the car. I am in the car. Marcus almost smiled. Keane did not. The dashboard clock changed to 8:16. For minutes until their scheduled check-in. Marcus could reveal his credentials now. He could end the uncertainty. But something about the stop still felt wrong in a way bias alone did not explain. Keane had followed them too precisely. He had asked where they came from before explaining any traffic violation. And now he seemed more interested in the contents of the car than in the road behavior that supposedly justified stopping it. Marcus looked at him. Officer Keane, what exactly are you looking for? Keane paused. For the first time, his eyes moved toward Vanessa's leather bag. Then back to Marcus. Depends what you picked up tonight. Marcus went still. Vanessa's hand stopped above her phone. Neither of them had told him they had picked up anything. Marcus watched Keane's eyes move toward Vanessa's leather bag, and the meaning of the officer's question settled between them. Depends what you picked up tonight. That was not a traffic question. It was not even a normal roadside question. Marcus kept his expression steady. You still have not explained the reason for the stop. Keane looked at him as though patience itself were suspicious. I told you. Your vehicle caught my attention. That is not specific. You were moving through an area where we have had problems. What problems? The kind that make people lie when officers ask simple questions. Marcus glanced toward the road. A white pickup rolled through the intersection several miles per hour over the posted limit, then changed lanes without signaling. Keane never looked away from Marcus. Vanessa noticed it too. The silence that followed was not empty. It was evidence. So the pickup does not concern you, Marcus said. Keane frowned. Do not tell me how to patrol. I did not. I asked why your standards appear to change depending on the driver. Keane's face hardened. There you go. There I go where? Making this about something it is not. Marcus looked at him. I have not said what it is. Behind Keane, Officer Noah Briggs shifted again. This time he stepped a little closer. Officer Keane, dispatch did not send out a vehicle description tonight, did they? Keane turned. I did not say dispatch did. Briggs paused. Then what did the car match? Keane looked back at Marcus. Black sedan. 2 occupants. Out late. Acting nervous. Vanessa leaned slightly toward the open passenger window. You knew there were 2 occupants before you approached? Keane's eyes flicked toward her. I could see through the glass. From behind us at night? She asked. Keane did not answer. Marcus felt something tighten in the logic of the stop. Keane had followed them for several blocks. He had asked where they were coming from. He had shown unusual interest in the contents of the car. And now his explanation seemed to be changing in real time. Marcus could end this. 1 badge. 1 credential case. 1 sentence. But Vanessa had not moved toward hers, and he understood why. They needed to know whether Keane's behavior came from prejudice, bad information, or something more dangerous to the investigation. Open the trunk, Keane said again. Marcus shook his head once. I do not consent to a search. Then why are you worried about me looking? Because consent matters whether there is something inside or not. Keane gave a short, humorless laugh. You people memorize a few legal phrases and think that makes you untouchable. Briggs looked at him sharply. Vanessa did not blink. Marcus felt anger rise, but discipline held it in place. Anger could satisfy Keane's assumptions. Calm would expose them. What do you mean by you people? Marcus asked. Keane looked away for half a second. People who want to argue instead of cooperate. You said that earlier. Because it is true. Then explain why the white driver who just crossed the intersection without signaling did not receive the same attention. Keane's jaw tightened. Because I am dealing with you. Exactly. The word landed harder because Marcus did not raise his voice. The dashboard clock changed to 8:17. 3 minutes until check-in. Vanessa looked at the time, then at Marcus. Her right thumb rested beside the screen of her phone. One movement could notify Rachel Monroe that something had gone wrong. She waited. Keane stepped closer to the rear of the sedan. I'm going to ask you one last time. What is in the car? Marcus replied. Nothing you have established a lawful reason to search. Keane stared at him. Then his voice dropped. Whatever you picked up near Willow Street, it is staying in this car until I see it. Everything changed. Marcus did not react outwardly, but inside, every possibility reordered itself at once. Vanessa's eyes lifted. Briggs looked confused. Willow Street, he said. Keane did not answer him. Marcus looked directly at the officer. Who told you about Willow Street? Keane's expression shifted for the first time. Not confidence. Calculation. Vanessa turned her phone over. Her thumb touched the screen once. Somewhere miles away, a silent federal alert began moving toward the one person who would understand exactly what it meant. Marcus did not move. Neither did Vanessa. For a second, the only sound came from the patrol cruiser behind them and the faint hiss of tires passing through damp pavement in the distance. Keane had said Willow Street. He had said it casually, almost as if he expected the name to mean nothing. But it meant everything. Marcus looked at him with the same steady expression he had worn from the beginning. Who told you about Willow Street? Keane shifted his weight. I hear things. From whom? That is none of your business. Vanessa's thumb remained near her phone after sending the silent alert. She did not look down again. If Rachel Monroe received it, the task force would know something had gone wrong before the scheduled check-in. The clock inside the sedan read 8:17. 3 minutes remained, but the timeline no longer mattered in the same way. What mattered was information. Keane had information he should not have had. Marcus decided not to reveal his credentials yet. Not because he was afraid of what Keane might do. Because the moment the badge came out, the officer would understand the stakes and start measuring every word. Right now, Keane still believed he controlled the conversation. That made him useful. You followed us before activating your lights, Marcus said. Why? Keane gave a dismissive shrug. Routine observation. For several blocks? I can drive wherever I want. Did someone tell you to watch this car? Keane's eyes narrowed. You asked too many questions. That is because your answers keep changing. Briggs stepped closer, his uncertainty becoming harder to hide. Travis, did you get a call about this vehicle? Keane looked at him sharply. Stay out of it. Briggs did not step back. I am standing here too. If there was a bulletin, I should know what it said. Keane's silence lasted 1 second too long. Marcus noticed. Vanessa noticed. Briggs noticed. Then Keane looked toward the sedan again. Black four-door. 2 people. Something important in the vehicle. That is all. Marcus felt the pieces begin to align. Who sent that description? Keane answered too quickly. Anonymous tip. Through dispatch. Briggs asked. Keane did not answer. Vanessa finally spoke. Her voice was calm. Officer Keane, was this tip documented? Keane looked at her. You do not get to interrogate me. Nobody is interrogating you, she said. We are asking how you received information about our location and our vehicle. Keane gave a small laugh. Our location. Listen to you. Marcus watched him closely. The racial contempt was still there, woven into the way Keane interpreted every calm question as arrogance. But something else had joined it now. Defensiveness. Let me guess, Keane continued. You two are important people. Lawyers. Consultants. Something like that. Marcus said nothing. Keane pointed toward the trunk. All I need is a look. If there is nothing there, you can go. No, Marcus said. Short. Clear. Keane stared at him. No. You have not established a lawful basis for a search, and I am not giving consent. Then you are choosing to make this difficult. No. You chose that when you stopped us without explaining a violation. Briggs looked toward Keane. He is right about one thing. You still have not told them why you initiated the stop. Keane's expression hardened. I had reasonable suspicion. Based on what? Briggs asked. Keane looked at Marcus, then Vanessa, then the car. The tip. Their behavior. The area. Marcus replied, my driving. Keane said nothing. Speed. Silence. Signal violation? Nothing. Marcus nodded once. So we have finally reached the truth. This was never about traffic. Keane stepped toward the rear of the sedan again, eyes fixed on the trunk. Open it. Marcus stayed where he was. No, inside the vehicle, Vanessa's phone vibrated once against her palm. A single coded confirmation. Rachel Monroe had received the alert. Help was not the important part. Coordination was. Vanessa looked at Marcus. He understood immediately. The task force was now listening for context. Keane, unaware of that, kept talking. Whatever happened on Willow Street tonight, I am not letting you drive away with it. Marcus felt the last uncertainty disappear. Interesting, he said quietly. Keane frowned. What is? Marcus held his gaze. We never told you anything happened there. For the first time since the stop began, Keane had no answer ready. Keane's silence lasted just long enough to expose him. Marcus did not press immediately. He had learned that people often filled silence when they became uncomfortable with it. Vanessa knew the same thing. Briggs did too. The 3 of them waited. Keane looked from Marcus to the trunk, then toward the patrol cruiser, as if searching for an answer somewhere outside himself. I told you, he said finally. It was an anonymous tip. Marcus kept his voice level. Anonymous tips still have a source path. Not always. Then how did you receive it? Keane's jaw tightened. Why does that matter to you? Vanessa answered from inside the sedan. Because you knew a location that was not public, you knew the number of occupants, and you knew something had been picked up tonight. Briggs turned toward Keane. She is right. That is more than a vague tip. Keane snapped his attention toward him. I said stay out of it. Briggs did not move. I am part of this stop. The dashboard clock changed to 8:18. 2 minutes until the scheduled check-in. Vanessa's phone vibrated again, softer this time. Rachel Monroe had received the alert and was requesting confirmation that they remained secure. Vanessa did not answer with words. She tapped. Once on the screen, the prearranged signal that meant no immediate physical threat, but possible operational compromise. Marcus noticed the movement and understood. Now the question was not whether help was coming. It was how much Keane would reveal before he realized who he had stopped. Marcus looked back at him. Was the tip sent through dispatch? Keane said nothing. A department email? Silence. A recorded call? Keane looked away. Briggs exhaled slowly. Travis. Keane finally spoke. It came to my personal phone. The sentence changed the air again. Briggs stared at him. Your personal phone? It was just information. From who? A number I did not recognize. Marcus asked. Did you report it before initiating the stop? Keane's expression hardened. I did not need permission to investigate something suspicious. That was not my question. Keane stepped toward Marcus. You really think you are in a position to question every decision I make? Marcus held his gaze. At this point, yes. Keane gave a short laugh. That confidence is exactly what I am talking about. What confidence? The way you stand there like none of this applies to you. Marcus looked at him for a long second. You stopped a black couple without identifying a traffic violation. You treated questions as defiance. You asked about our work, our neighborhood, our vehicle, and what we were carrying. Now you have admitted that the information came through your personal phone from an unknown source and that you did not document it before acting. Which part do you believe should not be questioned? Briggs lowered his eyes briefly, then looked back at Keane. Vanessa stayed silent. Keane's face had changed. His certainty was still there, but it was cracking around the edges. You are making this about race again. Marcus answered. You keep saying that before anyone else does. Keane froze for half a second. Marcus continued. I'm asking about your decisions. If race had nothing to do with them, the record should make that clear. Briggs nodded almost imperceptibly. Keane looked toward the car again. Open the trunk. No, then I am going to hold the vehicle until I can get this sorted out, Marcus said. On what lawful basis? Keane's frustration surfaced. On the basis that I believe there is something in there connected to suspicious activity. What activity? Willow Street. Marcus paused. Vanessa slowly raised her eyes. Briggs looked at Keane with open concern now. Marcus asked, what happened on Willow Street? Keane hesitated. Then he made the mistake. The pickup. Vanessa's expression changed by less than an inch. Marcus felt the entire investigation shift. There had been no public report of any pickup. The word existed only in the task force briefing and in the message chain connected to the confidential source. Keane saw Marcus's reaction and realized too late that he had said too much. Marcus spoke quietly. Who used that word with you? Keane did not answer. The clock changed to 8:19. 1 minute. Vanessa's thumb moved once more across her phone. This time the message she sent was different. Possible leak confirmed. Marcus kept his eyes on Keane. The racial profiling had brought them to this roadside, but now something larger was standing beside it. And Keane still did not understand that every extra sentence was moving him closer to the truth he had been trying to uncover from them. At 8:20, Vanessa's phone vibrated once more. Scheduled check-in time. Marcus did not look at her, but he knew exactly what the signal meant. Rachel Monroe had the alert. The task force knew the stop had become more than a roadside inconvenience. Keane still did not. He stood beside the sedan with Marcus's license in one hand and suspicion in the other, convinced that control belonged to the person wearing the local badge. You keep asking questions, Keane said, but you still have not told me what you picked up. Marcus answered quietly. And you still have not told me how you knew there was a pickup. Keane's eyes hardened. I had information. From your personal phone. Yes. From an unknown number. Yes. That you did not report before stopping us. Keane hesitated. I had to make a judgment call. Marcus nodded once. You did. Briggs looked toward him, then back at Keane. Travis, we need to slow this down. Keane turned sharply. Noah, I said I have this. You have an undocumented tip, no stated traffic violation, no consent to search, and now information about a location you cannot explain. Keane stared at him. Whose side are you on? Briggs answered without raising his voice. The side that has to explain this later. That sentence changed something. Not in Marcus. Not in Vanessa. In Keane. For the first time, he looked beyond the roadside and imagined a record. A supervisor. A report. Questions he would not control. He looked back at Marcus. Open the trunk and we can settle this. Marcus said. No, Keane exhaled through his nose. Then I am extending the stop. On what basis? Possible connection to suspicious activity. Describe the activity. Silence. Vanessa opened the passenger door slowly and stepped out, keeping both hands visible. Keane turned toward her. I told you to stay in the car. And I complied while this remained a routine stop. Her voice was calm. It is no longer routine. Keane frowned. Get back inside. Vanessa did not move. Marcus looked at her. She gave the smallest nod. Enough. The purpose of waiting had been fulfilled. Keane had admitted the tip came to his personal phone. He had used the protected word pickup. He had connected them to Willow Street without being told. Every extra minute now increased the risk of contaminating something larger. Marcus reached slowly toward the inside of his jacket. Keane's posture changed. Keep your hands where I can see them. Marcus stopped immediately. I am reaching for identification. Your license is in my hand. Not that identification. Keane stared at him. Vanessa reached toward her own jacket just as carefully. Briggs watched both of them, confused but alert. Marcus removed a leather credential case and held it closed at chest level. Officer Keane, I am going to open this slowly. Keane said nothing. Marcus opened it. The gold badge caught the alternating red and blue light from the patrol cruiser. Beneath it sat his federal credentials. Special Agent Marcus Holloway, Federal Bureau of Investigation. For a moment, Keane did not react at all. His eyes moved from the badge to Marcus's face as if the two images refused to fit together. Then Vanessa opened her own credential case. Special Agent Vanessa Holloway, Federal Bureau of Investigation. Briggs stared at them, then immediately looked toward Keane. Keane's face lost color. You are both federal agents. Marcus closed the credential case. Yes. Keane looked toward the sedan, then toward Vanessa's bag, then back at Marcus. Why did you not say that from the beginning? Marcus answered, because at the beginning, we believed this was a traffic stop. Vanessa added, then you mentioned information you were not supposed to have. Keane opened his mouth, but no words came. Marcus stepped no closer. He did not need to. The power in the moment had never come from distance. Now, Marcus said, we are going to return to the question you have avoided for 6 minutes. Keane looked at him. Marcus held his gaze. Who told you about Willow Street? Keane looked at Marcus, then at Vanessa, and for the first time since the stop began, the certainty had left his face. I already told you, he said. It was an anonymous message. Marcus did not move. Show us the message. Keane hesitated. Briggs looked toward him. Travis. The warning in his voice was quiet but unmistakable. Keane reached for his phone slowly and unlocked it. The number is not saved. That does not matter, Vanessa said. Do not delete anything. Keane looked at her sharply. I was not going to. Good, she replied. Then preserving it should not be a problem. Marcus watched the screen as Keane opened the conversation. One message. No name. No history before tonight. Black sedan. 2 occupants. Leaving near Willow Street. Important pickup inside. Do not let them leave with it. Marcus felt the weight of every word. Whoever sent that message knew the meeting location, the vehicle description, the number of people in the car, and the existence of the evidence transfer. That was not random information. That was operational knowledge. What time did you receive it? Marcus asked. Keane checked the timestamp. 8:04. Vanessa looked at Marcus. 6 minutes after they had left the meeting. Briggs stepped closer, reading over Keane's shoulder. Why did you not notify dispatch? Keane frowned. Because I thought I could check it myself. Why? Briggs asked. Keane looked at him. Because it sounded credible. Marcus spoke calmly. Based on what? Keane did not answer. Marcus continued. A message from an unknown number. No verified source. No dispatch record. No supervisor notification. Yet you followed a black couple, stopped them without identifying a traffic violation, and tried to search their vehicle based on that message. Keane's face tightened. Do not turn this into something else. Vanessa answered. It became something else when you treated an unverified tip as permission to assume the worst about us. Red and blue light moved across Keane's face as another vehicle approached from behind. This one slowed and pulled onto the shoulder. Then a second followed. Unmarked. Dark. Controlled. Keane turned toward them. 3 people stepped out. At the front was Supervisory Special Agent Rachel Monroe. She approached without hurry, badge visible at her belt, expression focused entirely on the scene. Marcus. Vanessa. We are secure, Marcus said. Monroe nodded once, then looked at Keane. Officer, I need you to keep that phone exactly as it is. Keane swallowed. Are you saying I am under investigation? Monroe replied. I am saying the device may contain evidence related to an active federal investigation. We will handle everything else through the proper channels. Briggs stepped forward. Ma'am, I can confirm he received the tip on his personal phone. He told me there was no dispatch bulletin. Monroe looked at him. Your name? Officer Noah Briggs. Thank you, Officer Briggs. Please make sure your body camera remains preserved and notify your supervisor that this stop cannot be treated as routine. Briggs nodded. Keane looked toward Marcus. I did not know who you were. Marcus answered. That is not the part you should be worried about. Keane frowned. Then what is? Marcus looked toward the phone. You knew more than you should have, and you trusted a stranger's message more than the people standing in front of you. Monroe received a secure tablet from one of the agents and entered the number from Keane's phone. The first records did not identify a name, but they showed the message had passed through a prepaid account activated earlier that afternoon. More important was the timing. Another task force analyst had already found a connection between that account and a number appearing in the secured phone recovered on Willow Street. Vanessa looked at Marcus. There it was. Not proof of a conspiracy. Not yet. But a bridge. Monroe raised her eyes from the tablet. The number that contacted Officer Keane is linked to a communication chain already inside our case. Keane stared at her. I had no idea. Marcus believed that part might be true. Keane did not look like a mastermind. He looked like a man who had received information that confirmed what he already wanted to believe and never stopped to ask why. Did the sender tell you specifically to stop us? Marcus asked. Keane nodded slowly. The message said the sedan would be carrying something important. And that was enough? I thought it might be. Marcus looked at him. No, you wanted it to be enough. Keane lowered his eyes. The difference mattered. The anonymous message had created the opportunity. Bias had decided what happened next. Monroe turned to one of the agents. Preserve the message chain, notify the task force, and start tracing the account through legal process. Then she looked at Briggs. We will need your full statement. Briggs nodded. Keane said nothing. Marcus watched him for a moment, then spoke quietly. You thought you were uncovering something in our car. Keane looked up. Marcus held his gaze. Instead, you may have just shown us where the leak begins. 3 weeks later, Marcus and Vanessa drove the same stretch of road just after sunset. But this time there were no sealed envelopes between them and no urgent check-in waiting on the dashboard clock. The city looked ordinary again. Storefronts glowed. Traffic moved. People crossed at the light without knowing that a single roadside stop had opened a trail investigators had been trying to find for months. The message sent to Keane's personal phone had not led directly to a mastermind. Reality was messier than that. The prepaid account had been passed through several numbers, but the task force eventually traced part of the communication chain to a contractor with indirect access to scheduling information connected to the federal investigation. That contractor had shared protected details with someone outside the case, believing the information would never be tied back to him. The mistake was not dramatic. It was careless, and careless decisions leave records. Rachel Monroe's team followed the records. Officer Noah Briggs gave a complete statement, preserved his body camera footage, and documented exactly when Keane first mentioned the tip. His cooperation became one of the clearest pieces of the timeline. Officer Travis Keane was placed under administrative review for the unsupported stop, failure to properly report the personal message, and the unequal way he applied suspicion during the encounter. He had not created the leak. He had not understood the investigation, but his bias had made him easy to use. Someone sent him a description of a black couple in a sedan, and instead of questioning the source, he questioned the people. That difference became impossible to ignore. Marcus watched the road ahead as Vanessa looked out the passenger window. Do you think he understands it now? She asked. Marcus knew exactly who she meant. Understanding and admitting are different things. Vanessa nodded. Monroe said he stopped blaming us in the second interview. That is a start. You do not sound impressed. Marcus glanced at her. Accountability is not supposed to impress me. It is supposed to change behavior. They passed the shoulder where the cruiser had stopped them. Vanessa looked toward it for a moment. I keep thinking about the first question he asked. Marcus remembered. Where are you coming from? Not why were you speeding. Not do you know why I stopped you. Where are you coming from? A question shaped by assumption before evidence had entered the conversation. I keep thinking about the question he never asked, Marcus said. Which one? Why would a stranger send me this information? Vanessa looked at him. That was the center of it. Keane had trusted the message. Because it matched something already inside his own thinking. The unknown sender had not needed to control him, only predict him. At the next intersection, Marcus stopped at a red light. Across the street, another patrol officer had pulled behind a disabled car. A young black man stood beside it holding jumper cables. The officer checked on him, called roadside assistance, then moved traffic around the vehicle while the driver waited. No suspicion, no unnecessary questions, just procedure. Vanessa watched the scene. That is how simple it can be. Marcus nodded. When people remember that authority is a responsibility before it is a privilege. Weeks earlier, Keane had looked at Marcus and Vanessa and decided they needed to explain why they belonged on that road. He never imagined they were the people trained to examine evidence, follow hidden connections, and separate assumption from fact. But the deepest lesson had nothing to do with their federal badges. If they had been teachers, nurses, accountants, or simply a married couple driving home, the standard should have been the same. Respect should not depend on discovering that the person in front of you has power. The light turned green. Marcus drove forward. Vanessa glanced at him. So what did that stop really expose? Marcus thought for a moment. A leak. A bad decision. And something older than both. Bias. Yes. Vanessa looked back at the road. Marcus kept driving. Keane thought he had stopped two suspicious strangers carrying something important. In the end, the most important thing they carried away was proof that prejudice does more than harm the people it targets. Sometimes it blinds the person holding it to the truth, standing directly in front of him.